Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast. Sorry, I am joined. Today I'm your host, Nicola, and I am joined by two lovely guests. One, my sidekick, Joe. Hello, how are you?
Hiya, hun. I'm good. All the better for seeing your face. Who else are we joined by?
Thanks, darling. And the other one, Kev.
I thought I was going to get you had Joe your sidekick, and I thought my arch nemesis Kev is what I thought was coming. But
it's more of an insult, I think, to just say just Kev.
Just Kev.
Yeah, probably.
Just Kev. And if anyone's wondering what I was laughing at the start, Kev had about 3 minutes of just being a loon. And I thought he was going to kick off the podcast by saying that.
Doesn't sound like me at all.
Doesn't sound like you at all, does it?
Very professional, very balanced. Oh.
Okay. Yeah. We'll go with that, shall we? Right. Today, my honeys, we are talking about Newcastle and Nottingham Forest on Sunday. So we're coming off the back of two pretty good games, Arsenal win and a Chelsea Carabao Cup win. I know this is a Premier League game coming up, but I'm still talking about the Carabao Cup win.
Absolutely.
So to be honest, we're pretty much in a really good position. I'm feeling positive. Don't know about you guys. And we are heading to Nottingham Forest, who are unbelievably sitting third in the Premier League. I know it's a bit early to be talking about that, but they are having quite the start to the season. So I thought we'll just kick part one off by having sort of a 5-6 minute discussion around Nottingham Forest's recent form, our recent form, and how we are all feeling going into the weekend's fixture. So, Looney Kev, I shall start with you.
Looney Kev? Unbelievable.
Looney Kev.
That. Well, you're absolutely right. Forest have started the season ridiculously well. We've only lost 1 game in 10, which is quite impressive, to be fair. However, we all know by the end of November, we'll probably be back in 12th or something, and we'll be back in the top 4. So I'm pretty confident going into the game and very willing to upset Nottingham Forest fans, not that they'll be listening to this. But yeah, it's weird. It feels like we've got a bit of confidence back after this week. We've obviously had Chelsea in the cup with a nice win, and then actually beating Arsenal with an unbelievable atmosphere, with everybody pulling in the right direction again. It just feels like a very different game. I remember looking ahead to this game about 2 weeks ago thinking, God, they're flying and we're really struggling, and this could be a disaster going into it. It could be a massive difference between the two teams, but we're only 4 points behind them. So if we beat Forest 1 point behind a 4th place or 3rd place, which is not bad at the moment. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Forest are banging form, but I don't know. I've just got a feeling that we're gonna somehow do them over. And Chris Wood can't play like Didier Drogba when he plays us again. That's happened once. Scored a hat-trick at St James. It's not going to happen again. So Chris Wood not to score and Newcastle to win. I'm not going to give a prediction yet, but that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, lovely. Joe?
Yeah. I'll mirror a bit of what Kev said. I'm not feeling too bad, to be fair, and obviously that is taken off the back of the last 2 results, isn't it? So I mean, I'm not going to say I'm massively confident. We've got to give some respect to the fact that Forest are absolutely flying at the minute. It's not like they've had there at all any shape of dip. So obviously we'll hope we can start that dip, or at least just cause some form of dip.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got to give respect to the fact that they've had an amazing start. They have got some players on that team, which I know we'll probably talk about as the pod goes on, that we're going to be worried about. But we've always got to believe that we're going to go into this and get a result out of it, because we can. And again, it's going to boil down to us kind of shaping up, giving them the respect that we've give the bigger teams and really going at them. So I want to see a lot of that on Sunday, I'll be honest. And again, as a result, I think we can get a result from Forest. It's got to be one of those games like you look at it and you think, oh, well, we should get a result against Forest. Yeah, we should. But they might be looking at us thinking, well, hang on, we're flying. You guys aren't. You are so. They're probably going in as well. I think it's going to be very two fan bases that are kind of going to go into this believing, rightly so, I suppose, that they can get something out of it and fair play. But it's going to make for an interesting game, I reckon, as a result.
Yeah, I definitely think it will be an interesting game. Despite obviously Chris Wood's hat trick last season, I think was it last season? Yeah, last season, wasn't it? I always do think that the Nottingham Forest and the Newcastle fixture is quite an interesting one because it's never dominant by one side. The results are always quite mixed, aren't they? So I do think if we, there's no reason why we shouldn't be going into the game obviously confident as we are, because I think we're looking pretty decent as on Nottingham Forest. But I just want to touch on Nottingham Forest a little bit because I want to give them the credit from where they were sort of last season to where they are currently this season and how they started this season, because last season obviously they didn't start as well, and they were kind of in a relegation battle for the majority of, well, particularly towards the second half of the season, weren't they? So I want to know what you guys think's changed with them in particular, to the fact that all of a sudden they seem to have made this massive switch, and have become a side that are looking quite threatening, because they are like the big teams. I know they haven't played Arsenal yet or Man City, but they are giving some of the bigger teams good games and getting some really surprising results. So I think that is something that we're going to need to watch out for. But do you think it's a case of that they've just got a bit of confidence and belief, or do you think it genuinely is, they've probably got a squad that they've developed and have put time into? What do you guys think about that? Kev, I'll come to you again. Sorry.
I think we've defensively shored up compared to when we played them in previous seasons, when it was quite an open game and end to end. You watch Forest now, and we are a little bit pragmatic, and we are keeping clean sheets. I think it's 4 clean sheets. One of them obviously against Liverpool at Anfield, which is very, very impressive. Amazingly, Matt Sells in that game, another ex-Newcastle player who literally just turned into the world's best goalkeeper out of nowhere. But when he was at us, he was hopeless for about 10 games and got dropped. But yeah, I think it's defensively where they've really improved. A clean sheet against Liverpool, clean sheet against Palace, clean sheet against West Ham, albeit against 10 men, clean sheet against Southampton. So I think if we can get 2 goals, I think it'll be enough. Palace don't seem like the biggest of scorers. I'm just having a look at some of the results now, and I don't think they've won at home or scored more than 1 goal at home other than the West Ham game, but West Ham had a man sent off. So again, that has a big impact when you're playing against 10 men at home.
Of course it does,
So yeah, Forest haven't scored over 1 goal at home this season, and we're still sitting third in the table. So that shows how good they've been defensively. They've only needed 1 goal, which again, normally, especially in the Premier League, you see 2-1s, 3-1s, as Ian loves to predict all the time. But you do normally see at least 2 goals. And Forest are very good at just getting 1 and keeping that clean sheet. So at home, I feel like if we can get 2 goals, it might be enough. But it's that big question: which Newcastle's going to show up, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest difference, going back to the question for Forest, for me, just watching, I don't watch Forest loads, but defensively, we now look a lot more organised. Which again, it looks like Newcastle are going to have more of the ball in this fixture, and that doesn't always bode well for us. But we'll see what Joe thinks.
Yeah.
No, with regards to the ball and having more ball possession, sorry, skipping to the last bit of what you've just said. Couldn't speak there for a second, sorry. I'd actually prefer us, ironically, to have less of the ball, because we are more productive off the ball. And then when we get it, we are more effective with it. So if we want to have 35% of the possession, right, and do our thing, please let that be the case, by the way, because I'd rather that be than us have 65% and kind of mess about with it, which we've kind of seen a lot of happen in the past. So a bit going back to what Kev said there about obviously Forest being tight at the back, that's something that we're going to have to be. If we can keep them out, and like you said, if we can nab a goal or 2, it will make them scared, I think. So at the same time, like you say, if they're keeping enough clean sheets, if we can get those goals against them, kind of give them that fear that, we're on fire, which, touch wood, we are a bit at the minute. This is why, honestly...
Don't touch wood, that's unlucky. We have a player
I'm not going to... Wow, I was going to say something I shouldn't have there. Right,
don't want to get cancelled.
Don't want to get cancelled. Dear God.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, I see. I've lost my track of mind now. I don't know what I'm saying.
And this is what I mean. Kev's up to mischief today.
Well, all I said was don't touch wood, because we have a player called Wood. It's not lucky in this fixture.
She was on a roll.
To be fair, what I will...
I was on a roll now. I don't know what to say.
I'll give Joe a bit of time. Joe made a good point actually about maybe us having less percent of the ball in terms of possession. I think I would have agreed with that early on in the season, but I honestly feel like the last 4 or 5 performances from Newcastle, I think we're all in agreement. We've been a lot better. I know we didn't win against Everton, but look at the chances we created.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Man City. We created lots of chances. I know we didn't have more of a ball against City, but we did against Everton. So I feel like this is a really good test for Newcastle, and I feel like this test is coming at the right time. I feel like that's how Eddie Howe and the management team will probably perceive it, because we're always looking at trying to fix things rather than worrying about things. So I think we'll think of this as a really good test at a really good time. We're going to have more of the ball, and let's see if we can still create the chances we were creating against the likes of Everton. But this time, when we are creating them chances, can we put them away? Can we put them to the sword and maybe come away with a nice away win? Because we all know our away form has been a bit patchy. So again, it's a fantastic opportunity if you look at it in a positive way, which I always try and do, and I get a bit of stick for. But if you look at it in a positive way, it's a fantastic opportunity to sort that away record out a little bit.
Yep.
And maybe win a game by dominating the ball for a change, which would be nice to see. But we've got that versatility in our squad.
I mean, you've got to hope the fact that Isak and Gordon and that are now back on form, which they weren't in the Everton game, where we had all those chances and just nothing was happening for us, was it?
Exactly, yeah.
So our star boys as such are now starting to actually put them away and perform in ways that we need them to perform. So that's where you bang on. If we can then create those, I now believe that we will kind of do something with them instead of just constantly waste them. So no, I am feeling positive. I'm not going to lie. I am. Again, we'll go on to predictions later, but I do expect us to win, put it that way.
Yeah, me too. And we're saying Nottingham Forest are looking organised, and just on the back of what Kev said, we're also looking more organised than what we did sort of 6-7 games ago. So yeah, if we can sort of perform like we did at Everton, fair enough, that was a 0-0 and we didn't put our chances away. If we can perform and start that game like we did, start the game like we did at the Everton game, I've got no doubt that we'll get a couple of early goals and go on to the win. Right, I think we'll end part 1 there, and we'll go over to our Zencastr Queen for the first advert, please.
No worries at all. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Lovely job. Thank you very much. Right, part 2. I thought we could focus a little bit more on our side now, because I know part 1 we covered a lot of Nottingham Forest. So talk about how we think we will potentially line up. Obviously, our lineups have been a big point of conversation, particularly the last couple of weeks, because obviously we've seen how he's changed it and how more organised we look and how we've started and played those games compared to how we have previously over the last couple of games in the season. So let's give our predictions of what we think our lovely Eddie may do, because I'm going to be honest, I think me, you and Ian talked about this, Joe, at the beginning of the week or the weekend. He has now probably got a really hard decision, particularly in the middle, hasn't he? Because it's given me a headache, never mind what he's thinking.
100%.
So Joe, give us your thoughts. What we're thinking.
I don't expect too much change from the Arsenal game, I've got to be honest. I know it was a funny one because coming out of the Chelsea match, we were predicting that there wouldn't be much change there. But it is very different going from a cup game to a league game. So we're talking 2 league games and we're talking a week between them as well. So it's not like we've had that kind of extra game to think about. So in reality, for how we were against Arsenal, I don't expect too much change from there. I don't know if you would bring back Longstaff in, but then you're thinking if Longstaff's coming in, he's going to have to come in for Willock, I would probably say in reality. I don't really want him to at the same time for what Willock did against Arsenal. We are assuming at this point that Isak's going to be up front. Again, we've said that Gordon needs to stay on the right as far as we're concerned until we've got a better replacement. May that be January or whenever. So Gordon has to be on the right in reality. Big Joe out left. And then you do expect the middle. I don't know, but then again, the middle could happily be... No, I'm going to predict... I scratched that on the Longstaff thing. Don't know what... I'm not thinking straight. Longstaff, Willock and Bruno in the middle, which was Arsenal, wasn't it? Why have I gone wrong?
That was the
I'm having a bad week, people,
I was confused
honestly.
when you said about bringing Longstaff back in.
Just
So I was like,
ignore us.
Longstaff started
Honestly,
in the last game.
Yesterday, I thought I was doing something today that was Saturday. So this is what sort of week I'm having, people, all right?
It's okay. We'll let...
Thanks. So yeah, so in essence, no, I don't really expect any change. I don't expect any change at the back. There's no way Hall's getting dropped for starters.
No.
Tino didn't put a foot wrong, so he can't. And you can't expect the middle two being Cher and Byrne. You can't expect that changing either. So as much as some of the guys in the Chelsea game had a great game, yeah, I can't see any change. And as such, Tonali doesn't start again. So that's the funny one for me. Because Tonali could be in instead of Longstaff is actually what I meant to say. Keeping Willock. Jesus, Joanne. Yeah, that's what I meant to say in the middle. So my only switch could potentially be Tonali for Longstaff.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've talked about, we need to get these guys gelling. Bruno and Tonali, by the way, is who I'm referring to there.
Yeah, so this was what we were talking about at the beginning of the week, wasn't it? I feel sad for Tonali because on the Chelsea midweek game, the Carabao Cup game, he didn't really put a foot wrong. And then obviously to see him dropped against Arsenal, I felt like he was a little bit hard done by, but I totally 100% agree the fact that Bruno had to start that game. So I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
And then it's really hard to know what he's going to do now because I personally don't think there should be any change from the Arsenal side. That started against Arsenal because it just gelled so well. Kev, what's your thoughts? Do you agree?
First thoughts, listeners, it's not Saturday or Sunday, it's Friday as you listen to this. Cause
Honestly, guys.
just to bring the spirits back up a bit.
I'll tell you a story from last night after this pod's over, by the way, and you'll understand what I went with that one.
Okay.
But yeah, I would find it amazing if he makes too many changes from the Arsenal result. Such a good performance, such a good result. But it's a tough one because I feel like if you're expecting to have more of the ball, then maybe potentially the correct thing to do is to bring Tonali in for Longstaff, which I understand is very, very, very harsh because Longstaff was fantastic against Arsenal. I actually thought Longstaff was brilliant against Chelsea as well. So
Yeah.
the last two games, Longstaff hasn't put a foot wrong. But if you are planning on having more of the ball, then you do need a Tonali player in there to move the ball a little bit quicker, to play through the lines.
Yeah.
But again, I think I said 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were in a little bit of a very slight rough patch. I was saying on one of the pods, I was like, I don't get how Eddie fixes this because I haven't got a clue what to do. Normally as a fan, it's obvious when it was Steve Bruce or even Rafa Benitez at times. Well, this is what we need. It's obvious what we need. And we were just sat there a couple of weeks ago thinking, what is it what we need? Because we've got 3 good midfielders, we've got wingers, we've got strikers. What is it? And he's worked it out. He has found the balance with Joe Linton on the wing. I mentioned that in a previous pod. I don't want to go into too much, but I feel like that is what makes Gordon work on the right. I don't think Gordon is particularly good on the right, but with Joe Linton on the left, he is a lot better because Joe Linton and Willock, kind of switching roles really does create a problem and creates more space for Gordon. So, yeah, I don't think too many changes, but I've just got a feeling this game is set up for Tonali, and I don't know if Eddie will be having the same thought, but how on earth do you drop Willock? Willock scored against Forest in the Cup, remember? Because I was driving over the bridge on the way home from work and it said 28, and Willock scored him within the first minute.
Yeah.
So it'd be very difficult to drop Willock. He had a good game against Arsenal, scored against Forest in the Cup. And on top of that, how do you drop Longstaff after the last 2 performances? So I think he's got to start with the same team. But I mean, Tonali's a fantastic £50 million problem to have because he's a very good player. So that's not an issue. And just reverting back to what Joe mentioned before about how well some of the players did in the Cup, it's brilliant because if we need a right back to come on, if Tino's starting to tire, Kraft hasn't put a foot wrong. We've got Kelly to come in if we want to go 5 at the back and shoot it up if we're 2-1 up or something. So very positive at the minute. Lots of good options. It seems like we have quite a lot of players in at least decent to good form now, whereas 2 weeks ago doing these pods, we had a lot of very good players, but not in good form. So it feels like it is coming at a good time for us. But yeah, we do have to be wary of Forest. You're not sat 3rd there after only scoring more than 1 goal at home once. And you still sat 3rd. You defensively clean, know what you're doing. So we're going to have to be very, very dynamic, I think, in this game. Maybe midfielders coming from deep, wingers coming inside, even maybe an underlapping fullback. Imagine someone like Lewis Hall coming into the midfield. So
That would
yeah,
shock teams, wouldn't it?
that'll be exciting. But yeah, I don't expect any change to the starting lineup. But if there is going to be one, this game almost just seems made for Tonali to combat Elliot Anderson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, so now we're going to touch on
Speaking
Nottingham
of.
Forest teams. Yeah, we're going to go into Nottingham Forest teams now and talk about just quickly the players to watch out for because I've read that Elliot Anderson is potentially got a knock to his ankle.
He doesn't fancy it against the toon, does he? He doesn't want to
No,
play against his own
honestly,
club,
I
man.
hope he has. I hope he's faking it. I hope he has got a little knock. I'm not going to lie, I'm terrified of him. If he's
I'm
not
not
a player to
terrified
come back and bite us,
No.
I don't know what is.
It was his
It's
birthday
prime for him
yesterday,
to
so
score
maybe
against us, man.
maybe he's just had one too many.
I like Anderson, but I'm not terrified of him. He's a good player.
he's
He is a good
great.
player.
I
But I
love
mean,
him.
God,
I
the
love
quality
Anderson.
we have, even if he was still at
Ah.
Newcastle, let's be honest, right now, if he was at Newcastle, Longstaff's
he wouldn't
had
be
2
starting.
unbelievable games. He'd be a 5th. I mean, Willock's ahead of him at the minute if he was still there, because Willock's playing really well right now. So 5th, 6th choice. I like him. He's a Geordie lad, but I'm not. I'm
He
more
doesn't
worried
want
about
to score
Gibbs White.
against us, I reckon. There's nothing wrong with him,
White.
really, is there?
Gibbs White will be a problem, I think. He's a very, very good player, Gibbs White. And weirdly, even though I know he's not always starting for Forest at the moment, Elanga, if he's fit, that pace is frightening.
It is.
That is one player that I am worried about, Elanga.
Yeah. I would have Elanga in our team.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about this, like when we were talking about, it was a while ago now, because obviously we were on like pod number 70 or whatever we are, but we spoke about this a while ago and I remember saying he would be one person to fix our right. If I wanted someone on the right hand side, I would take him. This is before Eddie's obviously mastered the right hand side issue with Anthony Gordon on there for now. But yeah, I said I would have him. If he's playing, I am worried because he is quick. But I don't think it's nothing that Anthony Gordon and Tino can't handle. Because like I say, Tino, oh no, it's opposite side. Jesus. I'm having a Joe moment.
It's catching.
Welcome back to the Daily Newcastle pod. There's only Kev left, and I'm going to do part 3 on my own because these two.
The girls are gone.
The girls are tired. The left hand side, sorry, nothing that Lewis Hall can't deal with. Anyway, I'm ending part 2 there, guys. Over to you, Kev, for the next advert.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day.
Beautifully read, mate. Thank you. Right, get my head screwed back into the game. Part 3. So we I haven't got much planned for this, but I thought we normally give our score prediction. So I thought we could quickly have a conversation about what we're thinking, how we're feeling, and why. And then I've just got one question. It seems to be our little favourite question between us three. It's based on Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. So I'll give you a bit of a hint as to what kind of question it could possibly be.
Kev will win, so it's fine.
Okay. Right, we'll start with score prediction. Or should we start with the question and then go score predictions? What way do you want to do it?
If you want.
We'll start with a question then.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
If I've done my research properly, and that is a big if in bold, underlined, exclamation mark, because we know it's me. I've got 19 players that have played for both Newcastle United and Nottingham Forest. Who can name the most? I wouldn't expect. Well, Kev, you're like a thesaurus, so I imagine you'll get them all.
I'll tell you what's probably best here, Kev, right? I'll name as many as I can. Let's get real, right? And then you can just top it up. Because that's what's going to happen in reality, okay? Because if I'm thinking I can probably do, say, 7. So I'm not going in glory here because my brain ain't working, as we've already established.
Same.
So if I can do 7.
Let's go.
I'm not miles away from 7, you know.
Well, this is good.
I don't know. I'm really
top of my
struggling.
7.
I don't know why.
I'm giving you time to think, though, because I'll rattle my 7 off now. I think they're 7. Anyway, we've got the keeper that we don't use, the Odysseus.
That one, yep, well done.
That one.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Anderson went the other way. Bad times. Yep. Chris Wood, bad times. Who we all love. Bless him. Sells, as we touched on and talked about just earlier, the keeper, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Lascelles,
our club captain. Done, yeah.
Colback.
Yep.
Yep.
And Pertinho.
Yes, well done. 7.
And this is where my brain stops.
I've got another couple.
Go
on then.
Shelby to add to that.
Yep.
John Joe Shelby. Carl Darlow.
Should have been an obvious one.
To add to that.
And also I should have known
that. Andy Cole played for his hometown club last. You said Colback, didn't you?
I did.
Yep, she did.
How many do we have together?
10 now. Isn't it?
10's not a bad effort. I didn't. I
I think it's good. I'm happy
I don't
with
know
10.
many Forest and.
I wouldn't have got the rest of these, by the way, because some of them I was like, "Well, I didn't realise that."
Was an old player, Joe. He definitely played for both, but I can't remember his name. It was well before probably before your time as well, to be honest.
I was going to say, be careful, Kev.
You're the most experienced member.
God.
You're the most experienced Newcastle fan here.
Right.
Come on.
Is that all you're giving us?
Frank Clark.
Who?
Frank Clark.
I haven't got him on the
Clark?
list, but
Oh,
potentially.
I'm probably
I know who
wrong.
Frank Clark is, but I couldn't tell you if he played for
I'm
both
sure
us and Forest,
there
though.
was an old player who played for both, and he was somewhat like Frank Clark, but I could have just completely made that up if I'm honest.
Shall I read the ones that you haven't got?
Yeah.
This is off, the World Wide Web.
Let's
So
see if I can...
we have
World
got
Wide Web,
Sammy
how's that?
Amiobi.
Oh my God.
Sammy Amiobi did play
Forgot
for
all
both.
about
I should
Sammy.
have got that one.
Yeah, only for I've got and then obviously got Ellie Anderson, Michael, if I pronounce his surname, Chopra.
I didn't realise Chopper
Chopra,
played
yeah.
for Forest.
I wouldn't have got
didn't
that
know,
one.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I've got James Coppinger. Again,
Coppinger.
playing Coppinger.
Yeah,
Coppinger,
young player.
Coppinger.
I wouldn't have got that.
Jermaine Janus, I can never pronounce his surname.
Well, it's all players we know, which is the shocking
It's all
part, actually.
no.
Jenas is the worst one to miss, by
Janus.
the way.
It is. Daryl Murphy.
Yeah, that's not as bad to miss.
It's
Did
not,
you
but
guys
we know
get
him.
Stuart Pearce?
No, that's
No.
bad to miss. That's
That
bad
one
to
is
miss.
bad to miss.
That's
Tommy Wright.
Yeah.
This was
Right,
like
yeah.
early 90s though, so I wouldn't have got that one either.
Even I was just young then.
Even
The experienced one on the
was young
pod.
then, so
Jesus
So me and Kev
Christ.
weren't born.
Where's Ian? I miss Ian.
Ian.
Come back.
And that's them all. I think I've got them all. Yeah.
Oh, well, to be fair, yeah. I mean, I know them all, but yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I think I've got them all. Yeah, so yeah, good
The only
question.
one, to be honest, I think the only one I was gutted about was Jermaine Jenas.
Jenna. Yeah.
And PS
yeah.
for me, I've got to be honest, I'm gutted I didn't remember PS.
He was very good for us, and obviously that was kind of his club.
Yeah.
When I was doing
Okay.
this, so I was thinking I did what you guys do, was just thinking and reeling them off when I was driving home earlier. I was shocked that I didn't get Sammy Amiobi.
I completely forgot about him.
I went away
entirely forgot about him.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Michael Chopper's one of them players who's played. I remember Chopper at Cardiff, obviously Sunderland, Newcastle.
Mhm.
Like I just don't associate
I don't
Michael
remember him
Chopper
at
with
Forest,
Nottingham
no.
Forest at all.
No.
So
No.
even though I know him and he's the one I maybe could have got, he's one of them I just think I'm not expecting myself. But Jermaine Jenas and probably Stuart Pearce, two big misses. I could have swore as a player. We did have a player called Frank Clark, didn't we, Joe? I haven't just made that name up.
Yeah. I just
Ari.
don't know anything
It's
about
fine,
What if he did?
his career.
It's
Like,
fine.
in
I'm
terms
just, as
of-
long as I haven't made him up, it's Ayres.
He's your imaginary friend.
Yeah, I was just
Oh my God. If you type Frank Clark into Google, the first thing that comes up is team Nottingham Forest.
Oh.
No, he played more games for Newcastle.
He played in over 400 games for Newcastle before moving to Forest, so he actually went to Forest from us.
So he wasn't on my list.
Yeah,
And he won the European Cup.
So I'll give you
I got
that
11.
one. Well
So
done.
he
I'm
won
gonna-
the European Cup with them.
Class Frank Clark
Big
is
Frank Clark.
mine. I got 11 out of 19, but I should have got Jenas.
I'll give you that. Yeah, of course.
Well done, guys.
Fair play.
Right, let's wrap it up. Score predictions. I'm going to go first. I'm doing an Ian. I'm going 3-1 Newcastle.
Whoa.
Ooh, it's bold.
Cool.
It's bold.
Whoa.
I'm going to go 2-1.
Ooh.
Because I think it will be tight. Because I think both, as I say, we've got to give credit to both teams at the minute.
Of course, yeah.
And I can't see goals happening on both sides. But at the same time, we've got to believe that the defences are going to also have a fairly decent game. So that's why I don't think it's going to go too wild. 2-1.
I was going to go 2-1, but I don't want to go the same as Joe, right? So if anybody asks, my serious prediction is 2-1, but I think Forest are due an absolute battering, so we're going to win 4-1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I actually think 2-1. But I don't want to go the same as Joe, and I just think Forest.
But we all want Kev to be right.
Forest are going to get brought back down to earth. We're gonna
just you, Nick. Actually, that'll do.
We're going to absolutely destroy Forest. And then, 4-1. Isaac 2, Gordon and Tonali off the bench.
Lovely.
If that
I
comes
hope
off, by the way.
Love it.
Oh.
get that bet on right now. Thanks, guys, for joining me today, and thank you everyone for listening. Let us know what your score predictions are in the comments, and we will be back on Monday with a brand new episode.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.